Hi, I'm Riley, 29, and 6 months ago I thought I was giving my parents the dream gift of a lifetime, a $50,000 all-inclusive cruise to celebrate their 30th anniversary. Instead, I got handed a carry-on suitcase and a smile that gutted me in the middle of the airport drop-off lane. It started with an idea. I wanted to give back. My parents had spent most of their lives working double shifts, skipping vacations, and pouring every cent into raising me. No luxuries, no bucket list trips, not even a proper honeymoon. So when I landed a big bonus from work after spearheading a brutal 12-month project rollout, I decided I'd do something big. Something unforgettable. I booked a 3-week all-inclusive Mediterranean cruise, Greece, Italy, Spain, the works. 2 balcony suites and a 3rd adjoining room. One for each of them, and one for me, because I genuinely thought they'd want me there. We were close, or at least I thought we were. We did Sunday dinners, holiday baking, birthday traditions. I'd grown up being the kid who could make mom laugh when dad was stressed, who helped patch drywall after dad's fix-it phase turned the bathroom into a half-demolished cave. So when I told them I had a surprise for their anniversary, they were thrilled. Mom cried. Dad got all quiet the way he does when he's holding back emotion. I showed them the itinerary, the photos of the ship, the onboard classes, the excursions. They lit up like kids at Christmas. For the next few weeks, we were in planning mode. They sent me links to outfits, asked me questions about sunscreen levels, joked about making matching shirts. I laughed along, imagining us taking sunset selfies in Santorini, or eating pasta in Naples. I even started a private group chat titled, Team Cruise Legends. Then came the day. We loaded the car with our bags and drove to the airport. Everything was set. Boarding passes printed. Passports in hand. I double-checked everything down to the TSA-compliant toiletries. We pulled into the terminal drop-off, and that's when it happened. Mom turned around in the passenger seat and gave me a look that was soft and oddly rehearsed. Sweetheart, she said, reaching for my hand. You're not coming. I laughed. Thought it was a joke. I literally laughed. But then Dad handed me a small silver suitcase, mine, and said, We thought about it, and we really need some space. Just the 2 of us. To reconnect. To reconnect? I said, the words bouncing around inside my head like a loose marble. What are you talking about? Mom smiled again, like this was supposed to be tender. You're always so generous, Riley. But this is about us. We want to do this as a couple. Just us. I looked down. Inside the front pocket of the suitcase was a small gift bag with tissue paper, a thank you card, a duty-free shopping voucher, and a candle. A candle. We love you so much, Mom said as she grabbed her carry-on and stepped out of the car. I stood there in the drop-off zone with my suitcase, their plane tickets in their hands, and the echo of a lie I didn't know I'd told myself for years, that love was something they wanted to share back. I watched their backs as they disappeared into the airport terminal, wheeling matching luggage sets I'd gifted them. I didn't cry. Not yet. Instead, I sat in the parking lot for 2 hours with my suitcase and my silence, staring at the digital screen showing flight departures, trying to figure out if this was some elaborate surprise twist where they'd call me laughing and say, Gotcha! You're coming too! But the call never came. Their plane took off without me. The drive home felt like a funeral procession with no casket, just me, a candle, and the sick feeling of being erased. I pulled into my apartment complex, parked, and just sat. My hands were still locked on the steering wheel. That tight, bloodless grip you get when you're holding on to something that's already gone. I couldn't even bring myself to take the suitcase out of the trunk. I left it there like some kind of sad monument to being unwanted. Inside, the apartment was clean, quiet, and stupidly ready for post-vacation life. I had stocked up the fridge, laid out my own travel clothes, even queued up movies to watch on the plane. There was a welcome home bouquet already ordered for our return, timed for delivery 3 weeks later. I turned off the lights and sat in the dark. 2 days passed before I opened the gift bag they'd left me. Inside the thank you card were 5 words, each one more gutting than the last. We hope you understand. Love, Mom and Dad. Hope you understand. Not sorry. Not grateful. Not even a next time. The candle was lavender scented. Cheap. One of those regiftable types you find on clearance shelves with generic phrases like relax and recharge, printed in gold cursive. I lit it out of spite, just to see if it smelled like betrayal. It kind of did. I started spiraling. Every text in our Team Cruise Legends chat went unanswered. My messages turned shorter. Are you serious? Was this planned? Why didn't you tell me? Then nothing. I deleted the group chat. I untagged myself from the cruise reveal post Mom had made on Facebook, her caption now bitterly ironic. Best surprise ever. Can't believe what Riley did for us. What I did for them. Not with them. It was a quiet kind of heartbreak. Not explosive. Just steady erosion. Like acid on stone. I replayed the airport moment on loop, Mom's soft voice. Dad's quiet complicity. That weirdly rehearsed. We need space. As if I was intruding on a private narrative they'd always planned to keep me out of. But the thing that really broke me? I kept remembering all the conversations we'd had while planning. Dad asking about the food packages. Mom obsessing over which night to wear her fancy sandals. They weren't acting. They weren't faking it. That excitement was real. Which meant the decision to leave me out came later. Somewhere between excitement and boarding, they changed their minds. And they just didn't tell me. Like I'd become optional. Like I was a guest in their lives, not family. So I canceled every future plan that involved them. Birthday dinners? Gone. Thanksgiving at their house? Nope. Christmas this year? Already planning a solo cabin in the woods. Just me, a fireplace, and 0 lavender candles. It sounds dramatic. But I had to do something. Because if you let people show you your place in their world, and it turns out to be the airport parking lot, you stop showing up. 3 days into their cruise, they posted a photo. I wasn't looking for it. I'd muted them on everything. But one of my coworkers, who didn't know the full story, walked up during lunch and said, "Hey! That cruise you gifted your parents? The pictures are amazing! Your mom looks so happy!" She pulled up the post on her phone before I could stop her. There they were. On the deck of the ship, arms around each other, sunset glowing behind them like a stock photo backdrop. My mom wore the wrap dress I bought her for the formal dinner night. Dad was sipping champagne. They looked like royalty. The caption read, 30 years strong. Just the two of us. Best trip of our lives. Just the two of us. I left the lunchroom without a word. I walked straight to the supply closet, locked the door, and sat on the floor between 2 stacks of printer paper until my knees went numb. I didn't cry, not yet. I just stared at the wall and let the silence fill every space their love used to live in. That night, something inside me flipped. Not rage. Not even grief. Just this, cold, bitter clarity. They were making a choice. Not just once at the airport. Not just with the photo. But every time they leaned into this fantasy of their perfect anniversary trip as if I didn't exist. They were choosing to rewrite the memory without me in it. So I rewrote something too. I opened my laptop and pulled up my calendar. Cancelled every future plan with them. I emailed my PTO coordinator and retracted the extra vacation days. I deleted our shared Dropbox folder where I'd uploaded the cruise itinerary, excursion confirmations, and even their custom Spotify playlist. I wiped myself out of the record like I was erasing a bad draft. And then, I did something that surprised even me. I posted my own photo. It was a selfie I'd taken that morning, sitting alone on the edge of my bed with the lavender candle burning behind me and a look on my face that could only be described as quiet war. The caption read, "Sometimes the best gift you give someone is space. And sometimes that gift shows you exactly how replaceable you were all along. Here's to new beginnings." I didn't name names. Didn't tag anyone. But the message was clear. My inbox exploded. People I hadn't talked to in months messaged me, asking if I was okay. My aunt texted, "What happened?" My cousin liked the post and sent a single heart emoji. One of Mom's friends, her book club buddy, commented, "That breaks my heart. You've always been so good to them." Even Eliza, My estranged older cousin who moved to New York and hadn't seen me since high school, messaged. That post. Damn. Whatever happened, I hope you're walking away for good. I didn't respond to anyone. Because for the first time in my life, I didn't want to explain myself. I wasn't the family clown. I wasn't the golden child. I wasn't the helper or the planner or the fixer. I was the one left in the parking lot. And that's where they were going to find me, figuratively, every time they came looking from now on. Not at their table. Not in their vacation scrapbook. Just gone. I expected them to call when they got back. Not because they missed me, honestly, I wasn't even banking on regret, but because I thought they'd want to clear their conscience. Say something like, "We didn't mean to hurt you," or, "We just needed the time," or that classic parent favorite, "You'll understand someday." Instead? Silence. No calls. No texts. Not even a, "We're home" message. The same people who once panicked if I didn't respond to a group chat within 10 minutes were now apparently fine pretending I didn't exist. But I wasn't. I tried to be. I really did. I threw myself into work. Took on extra shifts, over-delivered on presentations, even started showing up to 7 a.m. stand-ups without caffeine and with actual pants on. I joined a climbing gym. I downloaded a language app and told myself I'd learn Italian in 6 months, partly because it sounded cultured and partly because that was one of the cruise stops I never got to see. Still, there was this weird ache behind everything I did. Like my life had been shoved slightly off axis. Nothing drastic, just crooked. It got worse when my cousin Jake invited me to a family barbecue and I declined. Not because I didn't want to go, I did. But I knew who'd be there. And I knew the second I walked in, Mom would greet me with that soft, guilt smile and say something like, "We miss you," as if that counted for anything. The truth is, I was scared. Scared of being gaslit into forgiving them before I was ready. Scared they'd pretend like the airport never happened. So I stayed home. And that night, something small but seismic happened. I got a notification. "You were tagged in a photo." I clicked. It was Dad. His Facebook page. A new post. It was a picture of the cruise ship at night, lit up like a floating city. The caption read, "An unforgettable journey. So glad we had this time. Thanks for making it possible." No tag. No mention of me. Just, "Thanks." I stared at that line like it was a crime scene. Thanks for making it possible. Not thanks for coming with us. Not thanks for your gift, Riley. Just a vague, sterile nod to a massive, deeply personal gesture I'd been erased from like some background prop that didn't test well with audiences. So I commented. Calm. Direct. No anger. "You're welcome. Even if you never planned on taking me." The comment sat there for exactly 14 minutes before it disappeared. Deleted. I wasn't blocked. Just censored. That was when I knew. Not suspected. Knew. They were ashamed. Maybe not of what they did, but of how it looked. Because here's the thing about my parents, appearance always mattered more than admission. They didn't want to be wrong. They wanted to look right. And now, even from the safe distance of their photo albums and suitcase souvenirs, I was ruining the narrative. So they did the one thing they've always done when reality doesn't match the story they want to tell: they edited me out. But not this time. This time, I started writing my own version. I didn't go nuclear. I didn't publish some exposé or air out every ugly detail. That's never been my style. But I did start telling the truth, quietly, deliberately, in places that mattered. It started small. When people at work asked, "How was your family cruise?" I didn't smile and lie anymore. I said, "They left me at the airport." Then I let the silence hang. Some people would laugh, thinking I was joking. But when I didn't, their faces would shift, into confusion, then disbelief, then this slow sinking sympathy like they were watching someone describe a bad dream in daylight. After a while, it stopped being embarrassing. It became clarifying. Honest. Like ripping off a sweater that never fit and admitting, "Yeah, I've been cold for years." And then one morning, something strange happened. I woke up to a message request on Instagram from my dad. I almost didn't open it. The last thing I needed was a carefully worded, "Let's move forward," peace offering designed to bypass actual accountability. But curiosity won. It read, "Riley, we're sorry. We miss you. Can we talk?" That's it. No punctuation. No specifics. Just 7 bland, dehydrated words like a cracker you choke on. I stared at the screen for a while. Then I typed, "Talk about what, exactly?" No reply. Not that day. Not the next. It was classic dad. Test the water, then ghost the current when it moves too fast. 3 days later, Mom called. It was 9:17 p.m., and I almost didn't pick up. But the guilt reflex is a hard muscle to kill. "Hi, honey," she said softly, like she was trying not to spook me. "Can we talk for a second?" I didn't say yes. I didn't say no. I just let her talk. She started with how beautiful the cruise had been. "You really outdid yourself," she said. "Every detail. The excursions. The food. Even the pillows. You always think of everything." I waited. Then, her voice cracked, just slightly. "I know what we did hurt you." I almost laughed. Hurt didn't cover it. Hurt was stepping on a Lego. This was abandonment with a smile. But we needed time. She continued. Time for just us. We didn't think you'd take it so, personally. Personally. That's when the laugh actually escaped my mouth. Not loud. Just bitter. Personal? I booked an entire cruise. I planned it for a year. I paid for every inch of it. And I was erased from it like a typo. "I don't think you realize what that felt like," I said finally. Standing at the airport holding a suitcase and a scented candle while the 2 people who raised me walked away without looking back. There was a pause. Long enough that I thought she might hang up. Then, quietly, she said, "We messed up." That stopped me. Not because I forgave her, but because that was the first time she'd ever said those words. Not "you misunderstood," not "you're overreacting." Just "we messed up." I waited. I wanted more. A reason. A confession. A breakdown of how 2 loving parents justified deliberately excluding their own child from a gift they gave themselves in my name. But nothing came. Just a quiet, "We hope you'll come to dinner next week." Dinner. Like all of this could be fixed with chicken marsala and a folding chair at the end of the table. "I'll think about it," I said. And I meant it. Because I had changed. And they hadn't realized yet that the real cruise wasn't the one they took. It was the one I was still on, away from them, drifting farther by the day, and finally learning how to breathe on my own. I didn't see them for a month after that dinner. No check-ins. No. "Just thinking of you." Texts. Not even a passive-aggressive meme from Mom, which, frankly, had become her love language in recent years. I'd like to say I didn't notice, that I was above it, but the truth? I did. Every day. Even if I didn't want to admit it, part of me still wondered if maybe this time they'd finally do the one thing I never dared to expect, reach for me first. They didn't. And something about that absence settled it for me, not in a bitter screw you kind of way, but in the way you finally understand a story's ending because you stopped trying to rewrite it. So I made a choice. I booked my own trip. Solo. No champagne flutes. No matching luggage. No. Team Cruise Legends. Group chat. Just me, a backpack, and a flight to Lisbon. Portugal wasn't even on the original cruise route. Maybe that's why I picked it. I wanted something unshared. Unstained. It was the first time in my life I'd ever traveled completely alone. And for someone who used to plan group itineraries down to the minute, I surprised myself. I didn't schedule tours. I didn't research restaurants. I wandered. I let myself get lost on cobblestone streets. I let the ocean wind slap my cheeks red. I ate pastries with names I couldn't pronounce, read books on quiet piers, and once, when it rained, I danced. Actually danced? Like some corny travel montage, arms up, laughing at nothing but the sky. I didn't miss them. That's the part that felt the most surreal. I didn't spend the nights wishing I could text Mom about the tiles in Alfama or show Dad a photo of the castle steps. I didn't draft long emails in my head about what it felt like to finally breathe. I just lived. And somewhere in those slow days of espresso and freedom, I realized something. That cruise I gave them? It was never meant for us. It was my last-ditch attempt to buy a bond that never quite existed the way I imagined. It was a fantasy, one I had paid for in full, twice. Once with money. Once with heartbreak. But I was done financing relationships that only existed when I made the effort. On my last night in Lisbon, I sat on a rooftop bar with a view of the whole city glowing beneath me. My phone buzzed. It was a text from my mom. "We saw your travel pics. Lisbon looks magical. Maybe someday we can go together?" I stared at it for a long time. Not because I didn't know how to respond, but because I finally knew that I didn't owe one. They had taken a gift and turned it into a goodbye. I'd turned their goodbye into a beginning. So I smiled, sipped my wine, and let the message sit there, unread, unanswered, like a suitcase I no longer carried. And for the first time in my entire life, I felt weightless. That was my real anniversary gift. Freedom. And I gave it to myself.